You ever see someone yelling at traffic like it personally offended them? Yeah, screaming at red lights, cursing pedestrians, fists clenched, sweat flying like they're auditioning for a rage-infused cologne commercial. That's modern humanity in a nutshell. Spiritually bankrupt, emotionally reactive, addicted to noise, external and internal. But here's the twist. They're not mad at traffic. They're mad at life, at themselves, at the fact that they're never actually here. They're always chasing the next thing, the next relationship, the next fleeting hit of joy. They've never met the present moment, let alone made peace with it. And that's exactly what Eckhart Tolle calls out in The Power of Now. But you've probably scrolled past this message 30 times already, because part of you doesn't want to face it. You like your drama. You like blaming your ex, your boss, your childhood. You've built an identity around your pain. But this book, it doesn't give a damn about your excuses. It's here to tell you one thing. Your mind is not your friend, and your obsession with the past and future is killing you. Let's talk about The Power of Now, a guide to spiritual enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle, a man who literally woke up one morning and said, I can't live with myself anymore. And instead of checking into a psych ward, he transcended his ego and achieved what most people spend their lives avoiding: silence. Eckhart is not some bearded monk in a mountain cave. He's a German-born spiritual teacher who hit rock bottom, suicidal depression, anxiety, existential dread, and then something snapped, or rather snapped off. His mind went quiet, and in that stillness he found something far more powerful than achievement or identity: presence. This book is not some feel-good, manifest your dreams nonsense. It's a spiritual grenade. It's a slap in the face wrapped in a Zen koan. It doesn't sugarcoat your dysfunction, it exposes it. It takes your overthinking, your emotional addiction, your egoic suffering, and burns it down to the roots. Disclaimer: this video falls under the Fair Use Act. It is for educational purposes. We're not here to plagiarize. We're here to provoke, to confront, to flip your paradigm on its head, and maybe, just maybe, help you find that stillness you've been unconsciously avoiding your whole life. Buy the book, study the book, but don't you dare read it passively. This is not a review, this is a revolution. Welcome to Mindful Reads Hub. Let's get started. Escape the prison of thought. Let's rip the band-aid off. Your mind, that thing you worship like it's a demigod on a throne of trauma and to-do lists, is lying to you every single day, and you believe it. Worse, you live by it. You trust it more than reality. You don't even see reality, because your thoughts hijacked your vision a long time ago. You think you're making decisions, setting goals, becoming successful. No, you're just reacting to the ghosts in your head, and those ghosts, they're loud, relentless, and completely fictional. Here's a fun little exercise. Try not thinking. Try shutting off that little mental commentator for 1 full minute. Go ahead, I'll wait. Yeah, you couldn't do it, could you? Because you're not the one using your mind anymore. Your mind is using you like a hand puppet. It drags you through shame, regret, anxiety, bitterness, blame, self-pity, and anger, and then has the audacity to whisper, "This is just who you are." Spoiler alert, it's not. Not even close. You are not your thoughts. You are the one watching your thoughts. That uncomfortable silence behind the noise, that's you, the real you. The one who doesn't need a narrative, a victim story, or a 5-year plan. You are the awareness behind the mind, the stillness beneath the screaming. Eckhart doesn't suggest we fix our minds, no. That's like trying to calm a rabid dog by giving it algebra homework. He's telling us to witness it, to step out of the possessed trance of thought and observe it like you would a bad soap opera. Once you do that, once you just watch the noise, it starts to lose its grip. It's like shining a flashlight on a cockroach. It scurries. Thought cannot survive direct awareness, and that's the moment the awakening begins. But we're not done. Not by a long shot. The mind isn't just an annoying roommate, it's an addict. It's addicted to time, to problems, to pain. Your thoughts are constantly chewing on either the past, everything that went wrong, or the future, everything that could go wrong. You're never here, never now, never real. Just a projection of what was or what might be. And this addiction, It's killing your joy. You keep thinking you'll be happy when you get the job, when you lose the weight, when you find the one, when they finally say sorry. But it's a trap, a sick joke played by the mind. Because even when you get what you thought would fix you, the satisfaction has an expiration date. It turns to ash in your hands. You're already craving the next hit. That's how the ego survives, by convincing you that now is never enough. And it gets darker, because your mind doesn't just ruin your happiness, it manufactures pain, real, visceral, body holding onto it like trauma pain. That shame you felt from years ago, still there. That argument you rehearsed in the shower last night, still there. Your mind carries pain like a trophy. It collects wounds and turns them into identity. It doesn't just have pain, it is pain. Here's the kicker: most of the pain in your life, totally unnecessary, manufactured by your resistance to what is. Every time you say, "This shouldn't be happening," you're saying, "I'd rather suffer than accept reality." Your mind wants drama. It craves control. It fears the now because the now is beyond it. The now is raw, unfiltered truth, and the ego hates truth. It wants a story, a label, a problem to solve. But truth, that just is. And you know what? Most of us prefer that suffering. At least it's familiar. We know who we are when we're anxious, depressed, overthinking, bitter. We've built a whole personality around dysfunction. We'd rather be miserable than uncertain. That's the terrifying power of unconsciousness. But here's the beautiful violence of awakening. The moment you observe the pain body, that haunted house of emotions inside you, it starts to burn. Not because you attacked it, but because you saw it. You stood in your own awareness, and pain cannot survive real presence. You are not the pain. You are the light that exposes it. You are not the storm. You are the sky. So, no, this isn't about fixing your mind or finding peace someday. That's just more mind crap. This is about cutting the cord. This is about refusing to be possessed, about stepping into the now with your whole damn soul and declaring, "I see you, but I'm not you." This book isn't a spiritual how-to guide. It's an executioner. It slaughters your illusions with a smile. It doesn't care about your Harvard degree or your chakras. It cares about one thing. Are you here or are you not? Are you awake or are you sleepwalking through your own life? And if you're not ready to give up the pain, if you still think you're special because you suffer, if you still believe your thoughts are you, that's fine. You'll get more time, and with it, more pain, until one day you break. But if you're done, if you've truly had enough, then watch. Watch the thinker, watch the pain, watch your resistance, watch it all like your life depends on it, because it does. Key takeaway: your mind is not your identity. It's a tool that has taken over the workshop. If you want to be free, stop feeding it your belief. Observe it, disidentify, and return to presence, again and again and again. Favorite quote: "The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker." Time is the enemy. You're late. Not fashionably late, spiritually late. Because while you've been chasing deadlines, collecting dopamine hits from your phone like it's a Vegas slot machine, the one thing that could actually change your life has been sitting right under your nose, completely ignored. The present moment. Yeah, that thing. The now. You've treated it like a doormat while your mind wandered off into an endless mental soap opera starring what if and someday. And that's exactly how life slips through your fingers. Not because you failed, but because you were never here in the first place. Let's get something straight. Your obsession with time is not practical. It's pathological. Sure, you need a clock to show up to work, but you don't need it tattooed to your soul. What Tolle is hammering home, and you still somehow resist, is that your addiction to past and future is the root of your misery. Not your ex, not your job, not your bank balance. Time, or more specifically, your psychological dependence on it. You think your problems are real? They're not. They're just a hallucination you've stretched across past regrets and future anxieties. Every time you say, "I'll be happy when," you make a silent pact with suffering. You're telling the universe, "Hey, I'm not ready to be content. Can you please postpone joy until I hit my next milestone?" And the universe, it obliges. It'll keep your peace hostage as long as you ask it to. Here's the brutal truth. Time doesn't heal. Time doesn't fix. Time doesn't care. presence does. But you wouldn't know that because you're too busy chasing what's next. You want to access the power of now, but you're doing it on a 5-year plan. It's like trying to live while holding your breath. All anticipation, no participation. And let's not forget how your mind tricks you. It sells you fear dressed as preparation, worry disguised as productivity. You think you're planning. What you're really doing is rehearsing disaster, over and over. You're a one-man band playing the soundtrack to your own anxiety attack, and somehow you've convinced yourself that this is maturity. But the now, it doesn't play by those rules. It doesn't negotiate with the ego. It doesn't care about your past wins or your future fantasies. The now is raw, real, and uncomfortably honest. That's why it's so hard to stay there, because in the now there's no story, no drama, just you, stripped of excuses, status, identity, and that kind of nakedness terrifies people. So instead, you run into thoughts, into time, into next. You bury the present under a landfill of mental noise, because if you actually sat still long enough to meet the moment, you might meet yourself. And God forbid you realize that most of what you cling to doesn't matter, that your entire personality is just a collection of habits, fears, and social programming, that the person you think you are is just a story you keep telling yourself. But here's the kicker. Once you truly get this, not just intellectually, but viscerally, everything changes. You stop chasing and start being. You stop seeking and start seeing. And suddenly, washing the dishes becomes a meditation. Sitting in traffic becomes liberation. Standing in line at the DMV becomes, well, still awful, but less ego-destroying. And no, this doesn't mean you stop making plans or setting goals. That's clock time. It's fine. What Tolle obliterates is psychological time, the compulsive need to derive identity from your past and salvation from your future. That's the trap. And escaping it isn't passive. It's an act of rebellion. Every moment you root yourself in now, you're saying no to the system, no to fear, no to lack, no to the endless hamster wheel of becoming. But most people won't do this. They'll intellectualize it, quote it, maybe even get a tattoo that says "be here now," then spend the rest of their lives anxiously trying to manifest a better future. Because presence isn't sexy. It's not Instagrammable. It doesn't give you a 6-figure income or abs in 30 days. But it gives you peace, real peace, the kind you can't fake or buy, the kind that sits quietly in the pit of your soul while the world loses its mind. So the next time your brain says, "This moment isn't good enough," don't argue. Just look. Look at the colors. Feel your breath. Taste your coffee like it's the last drop on earth. Let the silence speak louder than your thoughts. Because the now is not a place you visit. It's where you are, or where you could be if you'd stop running from it. Key takeaway. Time is not the healer or the villain. It's just a mask. The truth lives in the now. Only when you stop using the past as your identity and the future as your fantasy can you actually live. Not exist, live. Favorite quote, "Nothing ever happened in the past, it happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future, it will happen in the now." Presence is a superpower. You've been told that power is about control, about achieving, accumulating, dominating. But what if I told you that the real superpower is something you've been tripping over your whole life without realizing it? What if the strength you're desperately trying to fake on the outside already exists inside you, quiet, unshakable, and completely overlooked? And here's the punchline. It's not some motivational fluff or hustle culture hype. It's presence, pure, undiluted, weaponized now. But let's be real, you hate stillness. You panic when your phone battery dies. You twitch in line at Starbucks if the person ahead of you orders a caramel macchiato with 6 customizations. You're so used to living in your head that silence feels like suffocation. That's not power. That's weakness dressed up as busyness. The problem isn't that you don't have access to presence. The problem is you're terrified of what you might find when everything else goes quiet. Let's make this clear. Presence isn't passive. It's not some monk in a cave nonsense. It's not chilling on a yoga mat while you wait for the universe. It's war, an inner war against the psychological parasites you've mistaken for identity. Tolle doesn't just hint at this, he dissects it with surgical precision. He says, if you're still trapped in your thoughts, you're unconscious. Doesn't matter how smart you are or how woke your Instagram captions sound. If you're not rooted in presence, you're asleep at the wheel. So what is presence? It's not thinking about the moment. It's being the moment. It's the difference between watching a thunderstorm and realizing you are the sky. It's radical aliveness. When you're present, you're not reacting. You're perceiving. You're not performing. You're inhabiting. You become untouchable, not because life stops hurting, but because it stops defining you. And there's a secret doorway into this power, a back door your mind never told you about. It's not a mantra, not a motivational quote, not a psychedelic trip. It's your body. Yeah, the thing you mostly ignore unless it's hungry or hurting. Your inner body, that subtle energy field you barely notice, is the key. It's always there, humming with life, waiting for you to come back home. When you shift your awareness from the circus in your head to the quiet aliveness in your body, everything slows down. Your thoughts lose their grip. Your emotions stop owning you. You anchor yourself in something deeper than circumstance. Tolle says most people never even meet presence. They live their entire lives in ordinary unconsciousness, with the occasional free fall into deep unconsciousness when life punches them in the face. They don't live, they react. They don't see, they interpret. They're like zombies binge scrolling for meaning, while the actual miracle of being alive is happening right under their nose. The way out? Reclaim your body, not by obsessing over it, not by idolizing it, by feeling it. Feel your hands from the inside. Feel your chest, your legs, the subtle tingling of life underneath the skin. When you do this, your mind takes a back seat. For a moment, you're not your story, you're not your plans, you're just here, and that here is everything. People think they need to heal the mind to find peace, but it's not about healing the mind, it's about disidentifying from it. And nothing breaks identification faster than shifting awareness into the body. That's where transformation begins. Inhabit your body fully, and the mind becomes just another noise. Not a tyrant, just a tool. The voice in your head loses its authority because you finally tuned into something deeper, something that doesn't shout, it knows. And this isn't just some abstract spiritual theory. You want better relationships? Be present. Want better ideas? Be present. Want actual peace instead of the temporary buzz you get from caffeine, likes, or sex? Be present. Presence isn't just for monks. It's the most practical skill you'll never learn in school, and the most dangerous one you can master. Because once you're truly present, you can't be manipulated. You can't be seduced by fear. You stop being a slave to your past and a hostage to your future. The body becomes your anchor, your radar, your access point to a level of intelligence that transcends thought. When you stay rooted in your inner body, you stop being reactive. You start being responsive. There's a difference. Reaction is knee-jerk survival. Response is conscious alignment with what is. The body grounds you. It tells you, hey, you're still alive. You're still here. The apocalypse in your mind is not reality. So don't just sit there nodding along. Try it. Close your eyes. Feel the inside of your hands, your feet, your chest. That subtle hum, that's life. Not the life you chase on a vision board, the life you are. Tune into that, and the world around you starts to shift. Or more accurately, you shift. And when you shift, you stop being at the mercy of the madness. You become the calm in the chaos. Key takeaway, presence is not just a good idea. It's your only shot at freedom. It's not something you achieve. It's something you return to. Again and again, through your body, through your breath, through the willingness to stop running from now. Favorite quote, the moment your attention turns to the now, you feel a presence, a stillness, a peace. You no longer depend on the future for fulfillment and satisfaction. You don't look to it for salvation. Open the hidden door. You're not going to find God while you're scrolling through TikTok, just like you won't find inner peace by manifesting on a vision board while sipping your overpriced iced latte in a room full of quartz crystals and unspoken trauma. You want to access something deeper, something real? Good. Then put down the self-help fantasy, because this is where we drop the mask and go inward, for real this time. The problem with most of us is that we treat the present like a stepping stone. We're always trying to get somewhere, spiritually or materially. But here's the twist. The door you've been banging on, the thing you've been searching for in churches, drugs, success, and shallow relationships, it's been unlocked this whole time. You just never had the guts to open it. Why? Because the key is stillness, and stillness scares the hell out of you. Stillness doesn't give you validation. It doesn't stroke your ego. It doesn't tell you you're special. What it does is obliterate your illusions. It tears down your identity, exposes your masks, and says, this is who you've always been underneath the noise. And most people aren't ready to hear that. They'd rather suffer in the comfort of distraction than risk meeting their own depth. Eckhart Tolle doesn't describe the unmanifested like it's a new age buzzword. He doesn't dress it up in glitter and fairy dust. He says it like it is. It's the invisible source beneath all form. It's the canvas behind the chaos. And it's always there, right behind the thoughts, the fears, the plans. You don't have to earn access to it. You don't need to chant or fast for 40 days. You just need to shut the hell up, inside. When you disidentify from the voice in your head, even for a moment, you've opened a portal. Let's break it down. What does this portal look like in real life? It's the gap between your thoughts. It's the silence between your words. It's the presence you feel in deep nature, or when you stare into your child's eyes without projecting a future onto them. It's that microsecond when you stop trying to change reality and just let it be. That's not apathy, that's not laziness, that's surrender, and it's power in its purest form. Now, surrender gets a bad rap. You say that word to someone and they imagine waving a white flag, giving up, losing. But that's ego talk. Real surrender is fire, it's courage, it's the moment you stop resisting what already is. Because newsflash, resistance doesn't change anything, it just hardens your suffering. You think you're strong because you fight everything, but all that's doing is reinforcing your pain. You're adding insult to injury with every ounce of denial. Here's the paradox, when you stop trying to escape the moment, you transcend it. When you fully feel the grief, the fear, the anxiety, not dramatize it, not suppress it, just feel it, it loses its grip on you. That's the alchemy of surrender. It turns suffering into freedom. And no, that doesn't mean you'll be skipping through a field of sunflowers with a smile on your face. It means something far more powerful, peace. A still, deep, unshakable peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. You want spiritual energy? You want divine power? Then drop the victim story. Stop resisting what you can't control and start accepting what is. This isn't fatalism. This is intelligent surrender, a surrender that clears the fog so you can take real conscious action, not reaction, not panic, not some trauma response masked as hustle, real action born from stillness, action infused with clarity and presence. That's when the universe starts cooperating. That's when the fog lifts. And guess what? You don't need a breakdown or a tragedy to get here. You can choose to enter that space right now by letting go. Let go of your opinions. Let go of your righteousness. Let go of the belief that your suffering gives you value. The moment you stop resisting, the light breaks through. That light is not some divine other. It's you, the real you. The you that's been buried under decades of mental noise and emotional baggage. Stillness is the doorway. Surrender is the key. And silence is the voice of God, not the absence of life, but the presence of all things. You want the unmanifested? It's not out there. It's in the gaps. It's in the space between what you think you are and what you've always been. The world won't give it to you. Religion can't sell it to you. You either enter it consciously or you'll be dragged to it through suffering. But make no mistake, one way or another, you're going there. Key takeaway, the portal to something greater is already within you. You don't need more time, more healing, more anything. You just need to stop running. Stillness, surrender, and silence aren't weaknesses. They're how you remember who you really are. Favorite quote, surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to rather than opposing the flow of life. Love without neediness. You think love is supposed to complete you, fix you, make you whole? Yeah, that Disney-filtered fantasy might sell movies, but in real life, that belief is exactly why your relationships are imploding. you're not in love. You're in ego addiction. You don't want a partner, you want a prescription, someone to take the edge off your self-loathing. And surprise, surprise, when they fail to make you feel whole 24/7, you flip the script from romance to revenge. Eckhart Tolle doesn't whisper sweet nothings about relationships. He throws a truth grenade into your romantic daydream and watches the ego burn. Love, he says, isn't what you think it is. Most of what we call love is actually a high-stakes negotiation between two emotional junkies trying to use each other to escape their own inner emptiness. You don't want love, you want anesthesia. Let's break this down. If your so-called love flips into rage, blame, manipulation, or withdrawal, the second your partner doesn't meet your expectations, that's not love. That's ego hunger. It's dependency, and dependency always morphs into resentment. It's just a matter of time. Real love doesn't have a shadow. It doesn't bite back when things don't go your way. If your love has an opposite, it's not love. It's ego dressed up in lingerie. Here's the hard pill. Your partner isn't responsible for your peace. That's your job. If you can't sit with yourself, how the hell are you supposed to sit with someone else? Most people get into relationships to escape themselves, to mask the void, to dodge the silence. You project your own lack onto another human and then call it chemistry. What you're really doing is outsourcing your happiness and then suing them emotionally when they can't deliver. Tolle says you can't have a truly conscious relationship until you let go of the one you have with yourself. That whole internal drama between me and myself is a split mind trying to be both the prisoner and the warden. Enlightenment, it's the end of that war. When you drop the internal identity circus, you stop needing another person to validate your existence. That's when relationships stop being soap operas and start becoming sacred mirrors. You want love? Then make peace with being alone. Sit in silence until it stops screaming. Heal so deeply that your next relationship becomes a celebration, not a lifeline, because only two whole people can meet without colliding. Everything else is just trauma disguised as destiny. Now let's talk peace. Real peace. Not the kind that shows up when everything's going your way. That's happiness. And happiness is cheap. It's emotional sugar. Real peace is immune to circumstance. It's what happens when you stop fighting the moment. Tolle draws a line in the sand. Happiness is conditional. Peace is not. Peace doesn't give a damn whether your life is good or bad. It simply is. And that's why it's unstoppable. If you're chasing positive vibes and trying to dodge the negativity, congratulations, you're on the ego treadmill. Round and round you go, wondering why nothing ever sticks, because you're still trying to control the outer world to fix your inner state. But you can't out-hustle the now. Whatever you resist persists. The more you fight pain, the more power you give it. Here's a revelation. Not everything that feels bad is bad. Sometimes your pain is the only honest thing in your life. It's the flare gun your soul fires to get your attention. You want to evolve? Then stop numbing out every time life gets uncomfortable. The lesson is in the discomfort. That's the path. Not around it, through it. You think inner peace is something you have to earn? No, it's your birthright. But you've buried it under layers of distraction, drama, and desire. Tolle's not saying, pretend your suffering doesn't exist. He's saying, stop making it your identity. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not your failed relationships. You're the awareness behind all of it. And once you realize that, peace becomes your default setting. So let's connect the dots. If you want love without neediness, you have to stop looking for completion. If you want peace, you have to stop needing things to be a certain way. And if you want enlightenment, stop seeking it in other people's arms. Instead, sit with your pain. Breathe into your loneliness. Watch your mind like a hawk. That's where transformation begins. Not in the next date, the next text, or the next apology. When you stop needing a relationship to rescue you, you become the kind of person who can actually have one. And when you stop demanding happiness from the world, you unlock the peace that never needed it in the first place. Key takeaway: love is not a drug. Peace is not a reward. Both are already inside you, but you have to stop outsourcing your healing and start owning your wholeness. Favorite quote: you do not judge yourself. You do not feel sorry for yourself. You are not proud of yourself. There is no self that you need to protect, defend, or feed anymore. When you are enlightened, there is one relationship that you no longer have, the relationship with yourself. Once you have given that up, all your other relationships will be love relationships. Conclusion: you've been lied to, not just by society, not just by the self-help industry, but by your own mind. This whole time, you thought freedom was out there, in money, love, success, control. But now you know. The real prison has no bars. It's made of thoughts, of resistance, of 1,000 tiny lies you repeat so often they start sounding like truth. Eckhart Tolle didn't write this book to entertain you. He didn't write it to sell you a 10-step plan or hand you a spiritual participation trophy. He wrote it to ruin your excuses, to blow up the narrative you've built around your suffering, to show you, with terrifying simplicity, that peace was never missing. You were just too busy performing to notice. The power of now is not a book, it's a mirror, and what it reflects isn't always pretty. It shows you the panic beneath your ambition, the emptiness behind your hustle, the pain beneath your positive vibes. It strips away the spiritual fluff and exposes the raw truth. You're either present or you're unconscious. Period. This isn't about becoming a better version of yourself. That's just ego wearing a motivational t-shirt. This is about dissolving the illusion that you are a self. When you realize you're not the noise in your head, when you finally sit in the silence and don't run from it, that's when the shift happens. Not in the future, not when you've healed enough. Now, always now. So here's the call out. Are you brave enough to stop? Brave enough to shut off the mental slideshow of past failures and future fantasies? Can you sit, just sit, and meet yourself without flinching? Because if you can, even for one moment, you've already touched the very thing you've been searching for your whole life, and it's not out there. It never was. Most people will close this video and run right back into the noise. Don't be most people. Pick up the damn book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Read it like your life depends on it, because it does. Not to memorize it, not to quote it, but to live it, to breathe it, to let it gut you and rebuild you from the inside out. This isn't spiritual entertainment. This is a demolition job, and the truth is simple. Freedom isn't something you find, it's something you remember. And the now, the brutal, beautiful now, is the only place you'll ever find it. So stop scrolling, start showing up, and for once in your life, be here now.